Alafia, where in the world is Yeyefini? Yeyefini is in South Florida at our monthly healing for peace and healing in the Diaspora ceremony. As you remember, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome. In the reading, the consultation, the spiritual consultation for 2017 that was done by myself on January 1st in Ghana, stated that the healing of the diaspora was needed so that our ancestors will come collectively and leave the legacy that they had in place, and let us connect with it and share it publicly and energetically. And some of the things that's going on in our community, we must call on our ancestors to intervene, to empower us, to help us, to assist our community with the skills that we have and the knowledge that we have of ceremony and of ritual to connect to that. All cultures, all societies, all civilization know the power of ancestral reverence. And so this is an ancestral ceremony that is conducted by the International Institute of African Studies and Knowledge here with the hope that is global. So in your own community, you can do it. We celebrate it. We have committed to do it on the third Sunday of every month at 2 o'clock. You could do it simultaneously, or you could do it at a different time that's best for you. We're asking you to do that so that we can feel the impact. Today we're going to share some of the stories that have impacted our lives and have changed our lives over the past month. And that was the request of the ancestors, was for each month that we give an intention as to what it is that we wanted to accomplish as a community. This is not an individual shrine. This is so that our community would be able to feel the importance of and feel and know the power of ancestral reverence. And so for that, we're asking you to join us today as we continue with our annual ceremony, our monthly ceremony. So of course, we've set up the altar, and here we are going to then, we have already opened up with the libation, but we will pour a libation for each and every one of you that is listening. So gather yourself together with your family or individually, wherever you are, feel yourself connected to spirit as we pour a libation to honor the ancestors, to honor your ancestors. And you can call their names silently or publicly, it's up to you. Omi tutu, ile tutu, ona tutu, tutu la roye. Olo de mare ajuba bobo iku olua tembelesa lo de mare ibaye bayen turu. Ibaye bayen turu aki bobo alagba ibaye bayen turu aku aki awon ariku. Ibaye bayen turu aki bobo ariku ti bobo nyaki bo kini awasoro. We give honor and praises to the ancestors of each and every one of us collectively and individually as we call the ancestors of the people of the diaspora. We ask specifically that our ancestors come together, push together, come together, ancestors, as we did, as our power and our essence and our energy of our melanin come together and fuse with us and become the snake that continually ends the dambadahuedo of our consciousness, of our collective spirit. We call on each and every one of your ancestors to come with us here. And as we know, they're doing it in Panama, they're doing it in Colombia, they're doing it in Costa Rica at this time, honoring the ancestors. We give charge to you this month of March and April to start up your own ancestral reverence celebration. Easy to do. We give thanks and homage to the ancestors. Ajuba yin ati fue soro adupwe fu ire owo ire agbara ire alafia di adupwe fu gbogbo ohun ke ise fu wa adupwe o ancestors. We give thanks and honor to those of us who are present here, who are not here, his intention was to be here. We give thanks and honor and praise. Ashe, 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 modupwe, modupwe, modupwe. Today, as we gathered, and as I said, we poured a libation earlier, but this was especially for the where in the world of Yeyefini, followers, and people who just happen to know the importance of ancestral reverence. The charge that I'm giving today is that each one of you that's listening and knows how to set up an altar or know the importance of ancestral reverence, it is your charge, it is your duty and your responsibility to teach two other people, just two, how to set up an altar or how to pray. This altar here is something that is used that is very beautiful and very easy to set up. You can set an altar at a tree. At one of the celebrations, I'm going to do it the way we do traditionally, which is done at the Egungun Shrine, and we're going to do that in one of our ceremonies. But for today and for last month and the month before, what I've been doing is doing something that we can put in a more aesthetically organized way, that when our families see it, they see that it's not something to run away from. And it is something that you would want to have in your home, and it's something that you would want to share. But remember also, if you cannot do it for whatever reasons, because you're in the transitions of claiming all you know of honoring nature, you can do it at a tree. You can do it in a park. Just call their names, because your ancestors are always with you. Your ancestors are always with you, and they work through you, and they work to help you and assist you. Last month we had the experience, and I wanted to share that with everyone because I spoke to the lady and she said it was okay. One of the sisters came here last month and prayed and asked for guidance in that she had a reading for the year, and it says to be careful of her blood, and that bloodshed was around her. She did her ritual celebration, and I was just told day before yesterday that she was in an accident. She was just walking, and someone lost control of the car, jumped the curb, hit her, knocked her into the bushes. And the doctor said that if she had not, if her ancestors or whoever it was, or the spirit, they told her, you have an angel, did not place her in the bushes, she would be dead right now. So we give thanks for that, for her doing the rituals, being mindful, and knowing that this does work. And so for us today here, as we do every month, we ask each person to bring a picture of your ancestors so that you can share with us what your ancestors did and what it is that you would like to share with us as to your family's legacy of doing community work. Because all of us are community workers. Remember, we come from a practice of knowing the importance of community. That when you wake up in the morning, people are asking you, how are you? How did you sleep last night? Everyone, because when we live in a tropical area, we come from Africa where the weather is warm. So most of our living, it happens outside. We only go inside to sleep. So in outside, that means that everybody is in your business and you are in everybody's business, and we don't look at it as something negative. It is something positive because everybody is in support. When people are asking you, how are you doing? They're not because they're nosy. They want to know because when you're hurting, all of us are hurting. And so we're community-minded people. We love to be in each other's life and space. And so as a community, for those of us who are doing healing work and are listening to this, you know that you come from a legacy of leaders. And so that's what you want to do when we have these celebrations, is to talk about the leadership of your family so that you can leave that legacy to your children, so they know that they come from something important, so that everyone that's listening know that we are not victims. We are not victims. We were prisoners of war, as Baba always says. We were not enslaved. We were prisoners of war. And so today we are victorious, and we have the opportunity, the responsibility, and the duty to tell and to show our ancestors and ourselves and our children how to take care of us when we become ancestors. Because if not, then we'll be just something that passed through here and took up space. And so today we want to ask each person that's here that would like to come and share something of the pictures that you brought and the food that you brought and the work that you're doing. Baba, you don't have your picture here, but give us short 2 minutes exactly what you're doing in the community here, down at the graveyard.
Okay, glad to be here. We're rejuvenating, reconstituting the graveyard to make sure that our ancestors are comfortable. At present, it was in disrepair, but now we're moving towards making it appropriate and that all can see that we honor our ancestors.
Share with us, how is it that you found out about that? Your wife was inspired?
Oh yeah, my wife, she sent me a clip of somebody on the news was doing a drive-by during Black History Month, flyby too. Every year they disrespect us if the stuff is not right. So the cemetery was in disrepair. Now we're getting in a position where we're re-repairing it without any fanfare and without the politicians and all the other folks who like the camera. We're doing it ourselves with volunteers to reconstitute.
So invite the people.
Anybody who wants to volunteer, they can. It's Lincoln Memorial, 46th Street
In Miami.
in Miami. 46th Street, a little west of 27th Avenue.
Sure. Thank you,
Sure.
Baba. Thank you so much for doing that. So, any one of you that want to come and speak about your family members, I will hold it now so that you can. Anyone that wants to come and hold a picture of your ancestors, so that we can share. If you want to share, come and hold a picture. No? I share. Thank you.
This is my uncle, and he was born 11 months after my father.
I share. And what is your name?
My name is Ashura Oyatosiwe, also known as Shirley Ann Washington.
I share.
This uncle, and let me just preface and say that I am so grateful to my ancestors, because more and more I realize how blessed and I am to have been born in the family I was born into.
I'll share.
Because I was born, I spoke about my grandparents last month, and this is my uncle. And my uncle, my father, who is still alive, were taught to be builders. They were taught to use their hands. And so I wanted to highlight and by the way, we used to call him Uncle Bud, which came from my father when he was a boy. And when my uncle was born, he was trying to say brother, and it ended up coming out as Bud. So it stuck with his siblings, and it stuck with my siblings. So we all called him Uncle Bud. But Uncle Bud and my father were the only ones who had children. So my father had 2 girls and 1 boy, and Uncle Bud had 2 boys and 1 girl, very close to the same age. But anyway, he loved to work with his hands. He loved music, and this what I have of him, and I love this picture because it shows him really loving what he does. He transplanted in this picture a pipe organ. In order to do that from one church to the church my family was going to, and in order to do that, you had to deconstruct some walls. It took 3 months for the whole ordeal, and this is a picture of him sitting there working on it. It was so remarkable that he was written up in the City News magazine because it was such an awesome task. He studied mechanical engineering. He loved working with machines, and I guess part of that is in my genes too, because they working with tools. He also was a community person, a community activist, as was all of my aunt and uncles in the process. He loved music. He could do, but they loved politics, and I would be a fly on the wall, listening to them comment on this situation that was going on, and it was a lot going on during the civil rights era, and they were involved. So I present this to him. I am very thankful to my family, who have always given me the best. I have no complaint, and I will do all that I can to continue the legacy.
I share. And you are definitely a community worker. Ashe. Thank you so much, Miss Toshiwe. And that's Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud. We love you, Uncle Bud. Anybody else want to share? Thank you, Ashira.
I'm Karen Watts, and I brought a picture of my granny, Thelma Lucretia Hare Jones, and she was a staple in the African American community. She taught in Jacksonville. She started teaching in the 30s, and it was interesting how.
Hold her.
It was interesting how this came up for me. I'm in school, and I was actually looking through my paperwork for something else for one of my groups. And I wrote this story about her years ago when I did a writer's workshop for the school system. I taught in Broward County. And so the story that I wrote, the paperwork just came up. And then I went to the Yellow Green Farmers Market, which I love and I go to plug every week. And a lady that I ran into, that I was introduced to, she reminded me so much of Thelma that despite myself, I started to cry. I looked at the lady, and her features were like my granny's. And before I could catch myself, tears started forming in my eyes. So I knew that I was supposed to talk about her because that was just too much that was just too much for it not to be anything. So what I wanted to do is that this is the magazine that we put together for the county. It was writers that came. And I wrote a story about her that I wanted to share just a little bit with you. So just a little bit about Granny. Granny Thelma began her 43-year teaching career in the Florida public school system in the 1930s. At that time, the salary for Negro teachers was just $492 a year.
Whoa.
And they often taught in schools that had no bathrooms, no running water, no desks, and no blackboards. That was just a little bit about her, because she taught in the segregated and the integrated school system at Stanton High School. So she was at Stanton the whole time she was in Jacksonville when it was integrated, when it was segregated, and then when it went to integration.
Sure. Wow. So you're taking up the whole teaching.
Yeah, teaching's my family business. Yeah. I'll read just the first part. Oh, my grandmother taught school in Duval County for 43 years. Now I am the math teacher in the family. I recently concluded, so this was years ago, because I've been teaching 29 years. This was 14. I recently concluded my 14th year. I'm still listening and learning from the lessons of my granny. She taught every mathematical subject there was. From basic math to trigonometry, she was it. She taught at Stanton High School, the black high school then. Now Stanton is a magnet high school for the mathematically gifted.
Wow.
Ain't that something?
Wow.
Granny taught for so long that she taught at both Old Stanton and New Stanton. Old Stanton was on 10th Street. That's 2 blocks, that's 2 streets back and a block over from her house. Her house was so centrally located that everybody who went to Stanton knew where she lived and how to get there. One common thread I've heard from many people who knew her was that anyone who had her as a teacher, a tutor, a mentor, or a friend was blessed.
Sure.
So this is my granny,
Hi,
Thelma
Granny.
Lucretia Hare Jones.
May you live forever. Ashe. Thank you so much. That's powerful. Anybody else? Yes, put Granny back.
Alafia.
Granny's eating.
My name is Ephraim Lyle Maxey. My name my mother gave me was Judith Maxey. And I don't have a picture today. I just forgot. But came prepared to talk about my aunt, Corrine Maxey Rollins, who was the oldest sister of my brother. Of my father. And she was born in 1892 in Beaufort, Georgia. And the thing that I remember most about my Aunt Corrine was that I knew without a shadow of a doubt how much she loved me and connected with me from little tiny girl. I always felt that connection with her. And just a little bit about her, she was born to a white mother and a black father who was my great-grandfather. And you can imagine in 1892 in the South, that was something that you didn't really talk about. So they didn't. In fact, I didn't find out until after she died the real story behind what happened there. But she would tell the story, and it just was like, wait a minute, there's something missing. But because we were raised not to question our elders, I never said, but auntie, that doesn't make any sense. So I kept myself quiet. But after she passed, her daughter told me the story. What happened was that this family who owned a tannery in town where everybody worked, the wife and my great-grandfather got together and had a daughter. And the mother raised her until she was 5 years old, and she began to show features that she was biracial. Then she gave her to her father. But she grew up knowing that this woman was her mother, and she played with the other children that she had, and everybody that was close in town knew, but nobody spoke of it because that family was so highly revered they didn't dare to talk against what she did, and obviously that her husband had no major, they must have had a real understanding. And so when they came north, she was grown and married to my grandfather by this time, and they brought their children. But every single year, she would go back to Beaufort, Georgia, to visit her mother and her other relatives down there in Beaufort, Georgia. And she told me the story of how when she was going to school growing up as a little girl, that the kids would all walk together, and that the white kids went to the school on this side of the street and the black kids went across the street to their school. After school, they met up together and they walked back home. And she stayed in touch with that family. They were the Powell family for years and years. In fact, when she had her oldest daughter, she would take her every year, and she knew them, and I have pictures of them and everything, and they stayed in touch all these years. So some of the stories we hear about how families didn't get along and there was all this, because this family lived in complete peace, and the people in that little small town all knew who she was and knew the story. My auntie was also an herbalist, because every year when she would go south, she would go, of course, in the summertime, and she would come back with all of these herbs. And I'll never forget the first time she showed me golden seal root, how it really looked. And she would have all these jars in her home of all of these different herbs and different waters, and she would pickle things and make medicines and all of these things. And she also was a quilter, and that's where our main connection came, because she wanted to teach me how to quilt. And I wanted to learn how to quilt, but in my younger days, I didn't sit still long enough to learn. And so I always had this yearning. So now here I am as an old lady, I'm beginning to learn to quilt, and I give honor and thanks to my aunt Corrine Maxey Rollins, who was born in 1892 in Beaufort, Georgia, for that. And I'm thankful and grateful to always have her energy around me and the memories that she brought to me and to the family. She was like when my grandmother passed, she was the matriarch of the family, and she had the family Bible, and she literally took everybody's birth name and date and everything, and I have her Bible. Her youngest daughter, who was my father's sister, she passed the family Bible from her sister, who got it from their mother, that she gave to me, and I have it on my ancestral shrine at home. So I thank you, Aunt Corrine, for being a part of my life.
Ashe. Thank you so much. That was so awesome. Thank you, Efulayo. Anybody else? Some people want to just sit and be soaking it in.
And today I brought with me kind of like two people. I spoke with my grandmother before, and you know what they say, that behind every great man is a great woman. So I would dare not leave my grandmother off. This is my grandfather. His name is Lenny Branch. And we're from Dothan, Alabama. And our family history goes back so far, but I want to go up there and do some more research. My great-grandfather, Caleb Branch, got his 40 acres of land. So I want to go back and research all of that. And it's amazing how I love my grandfather so much until I used to tell my mother my granddad was perfect. My mom said he was not. I said, in my eyes, he's perfect. That's all that matters. And he was. My grandfather, he was so gentle. He was so kind. He never raised his voice. He was just like, he was a provider. He was just like awesome. Like beautifully awesome. And I remember he taught me how to play checkers. He always like kind of took me along with him wherever he had the day off. He had a good job working in sanitation at the city of Deerfield. My grandmother felt so bad. She goes, "Oh, I don't want you in the back of that truck," but you know, he did what it took to get his family fed. And he, at evening times, I would spend time over there, and he would always make time for me. My grandfather honestly spoiled me. After my grandmother bathed me, I would take powder to my grandfather and said, "Okay, you need to rub me down and put me over your knee and rock me to sleep." And he would do that. And he just is so much of him inside of me. You know, I love him so much for all that he did. He was only here with me until I was in fourth grade, and he passed away. But those few years, he taught me a lot about how people should be. You know, he was very kind, and there was always peace in the house. You know, even though we were not wealthy, but my grandmother had a garden. And let me tell you, she had everything in that garden, from okras, the collard greens, tomatoes, radish, you know. My grandfather built her chicken coops, and we had fresh chicken and so on and so forth. So, you know, they were very self-sufficient when it came to producing, you know, food for the family. So I you know, just wanted to share this with you because my grandfather kind of like patterned me in terms of how I should choose my men in my life. And I want to thank him for the love that he gave me. And he's been, oh my God, he died when I was in third grade, so you know I'm like 61 years old, so you know how old it's been since he's been gone. But however, he's not here physically, but he lives on in my heart, as well as my grandmother and my soul each and every day, because I know, as it was stated earlier, I'm grateful to God because I came through this family. And through this family, you know, I was taught about, you know, herbs and how to heal yourself with the land, and you know, how to be, you know, very spiritual. I didn't understand why there was glasses in the house and you had to empty them out, you know, when it got cloudy. I didn't understand that. It was just certain things, you know. Of course, when you're a kid, they don't tell you everything. You just observe. So I'm very, very grateful to them, and I want to, you know, let them know how much they mean to me and acknowledge how they've played a part in my life, because who I am today is what they have instilled and imparted in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I guess the other people just want to be entertained, or they don't feel like sharing, which is okay because this is not a must. Baba?
Yeah, I don't have a picture of my ancestors up here. However,
Stand in the sun so we can see.
up here, I like to do a dual ancestor memory here. My grandmother and grandfather. They're the ones who adopted me when I came from New York. Well, they coordinated and got me down here. So they're responsible for being here right now. Other than that, I've been in New York somewhere, who knows where. So I came down here when I was 6. Through them, I learned a lot. I learned that work is good. Not working is bad. Using your hands is good. Not understanding how to use your hand is bad. Determination is good. Not having determination is bad. And through them, I saw and I observed as they went through, and sure they had a regiment. I had to be in before sundown, and I bugged that a lot, and then I ran away a lot, but eventually, you know, it all worked out. My grandfather, he used to work hard. He did scrap metal and all that, but he also had other things going on, property and all that. And he was an entrepreneur, and he just worked hard. So I got that from him, I guess. I don't know. But my grandmother, she was spiritual. She church just all the time. You know, I was in church too. I mean, they took me to church all the time. I go to the altar. They think I'm down there getting saved. I'm down there taking a nap. But that's all right. He tap me. Get up, from there. But the point is, she was spiritual. And being spiritual, and being dedicated, and being determined, that really shaped my whole behavior. So I draw on them every time. Something happens, and they said one thing. They said,
Share their names.
They said, don't never make us look bad. In other words, don't never shame us. And that in itself is a center of gravity where you take it with you. And when things come up where there's temptation there, you move away from it because it's built in. It's hardwired.
Wow.
And that's what's missing today. Is there not enough of that going on? I mean, just common sense. When something is bad, you move away from it. You don't just go with them. And they were highly determined people. They moved through a time when segregation was going on, and they had to go through a lot. But they still made it through. My grandmother, she was a maid. She did maid work. Well, Miami Beach, man. In fact, she took me one time. I was over there with her. And she was a maid. We knew the butler over there. At night I can see Ringling, Bailey and Barnum Bailey Circus, the elephants and all. I go up and I see that. And she used to stay over there and work. My grandfather, quite naturally, was, like I said, worked hard. And every Saturday we used to go to Miami. Every Saturday we used to go on US 9, take 9, and then we take 2nd Avenue all the way to Miami, and to meet his friends and everything else, and he'd gather around waiting on the numbers to show up. And that was Overtown. That was Overtown when it was vibrant, it was strong.
Sure.
And I just remember them as center of gravity for me, because they're the ones who are responsible for me being here right now.
Sure. What are their names, please?
My grandmother's name is Alberta DeMary. She's from Andrews Island, and my grandfather was James DeMary. He was from Fox Hill in the Bahamas.
Okay, Ashe. Thank you so much, Baba. Wow. That is the stories that we've heard today is giving life to the reason why we're here, why we're celebrating the ancestors, why we've cooked this food. And the food is food that we like, that the ancestors like. All of the things that we have here. And so when you set up your ancestor altar or your community celebration, that's is to, of course, include your stories, include the things that you have done. And so you can do it right in your backyard. I'm right in my backyard doing this. And as we know, and some of the people here speaking, well, most of them speaking here and that are present, they have continued the teaching. They have continued the work, the teaching, the strength, the choosing of mates, working hard. Baba Shango is one of the hardest working people, physically working here. Ms. Toshiwe opened up one of the old black bookstores in Dallas, Texas, known as Black Images. And so, the same leadership and service that Efunlayo has, of course. And so, myself, I want to talk about, today I didn't bring a picture of my ancestors, but I want to speak about these stones here, and I brought them as gifts. I brought them as gifts for everyone here. And I want you to choose one. so that you will feel the energy as we speak. And I know you trust me that it will be something empowering. Choose whichever you want. You can do it by looking at it, feeling the energy, or whichever you want to do. It's very sacred. Hold it to your heart and see what you feel. This is a gift that I brought this time. These are ancestral stones. Feel the energy. It's so hard for me to hold it. I won't hold it. I just set it there. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always collected stones, rocks. I always loved to collect rocks. And so wherever I go that is sacred, and I ask permission and I collect the rocks. The stones that I just shared with you, the little pebbles that I shared with you, I brought those from Ghana, from the dungeon. As I said, hold it to your heart. Connect to the ancestors. That's the energy that our ancestors can connect to. We may not have come from the particular area where I got these stones from, but we are all connected. We're all connected. And so the energy of connection that we have is done by the Huedo. We're all connected since the beginning of time. All races, all creatures, because we're all coming from the same source. That Olodumare breathes his breath, and we have it today. And so these stones I give to you as a gift for you to add to your own energy, so that whenever you feel like you need power, you need focus, you need understanding, remembrance of what our ancestors went through, I brought these back so that you can have this as a gift, so that whenever you want to call on the ancestors of ancient Africa, you call on them through this for yourself. It's like when you get the swab and you put it on Ancestry.com. This is for your Ancestry.com, so that you will be able to connect to all of the tribes, all of the nations, all of the worlds that you belong to, that you can connect and feel the essence of our ancestors coming through you. And so you know this work of doing ancestral celebration is our legacy. It is our heritage. It's our responsibility to do this. And so in doing so, what we're doing is we remember them. We know and we recall and we let them know that they'll never be forgotten. As long as we're standing, as long as our ancestors, these are the stones where ancestors cried, where they wept, where they were raped, where they were murdered, where they killed their children, where they chose to strangle their babies rather than let them be born into slavery, where men and women made oaths to starve to death than to get on a ship to be taken to a place where they did not know. These are the stones. This is what, from the stones that we say that we always stand on our ancestors, these are the stones. Bless you. And I give these stones to you, each one of you on this. Feel it. Take one. Infuse it with your energy. Ancestors, I charge you to just compel and impel everyone in the diaspora, everyone in the world, to feel the energy of the power of the heritage of Africa. And that our ancestors were prisoners of war. We were never enslaved. And so as prisoners of war, we fought, and we are here, and we're still fighting. And we shall overcome, not by song, not by prayer, but by ritual, by ceremony, by offering our ancestors food, light, sacrifices, nature. That's the way that we connect to our ancestors. It is your duty, your responsibility, and I give you these stones. Each one of you take one. Feel the essence and take the essence of these stones which were brought back from the dungeon, which they call castles. For me, there weren't castles, there were dungeons. There were places where we were murdered, massacred, tortured, and then brought to a place where the murder and the sacrilege continued. So this celebration this month rather, in the month of March, as we celebrate women's history, we celebrate the women who died in the Middle Passage. We honor and we celebrate the ancestors who were kept in the dungeons for months before they were placed on ships. We honor the ancestors who cried, looking for their children as they were taken, as they were given. We call and we give honor to the ancestral mothers that keep us alive. We call on the ancestors' mothers who today keep us as women, protecting each other, harmonizing with each other, finding a common thread that we can relate to and find as we are sisters, we are mothers, we are daughters of each other, and support and dispel the myth that we see on television that we're always at odds. We come from the same source, and as women, we share the same thing. The rhythm of the moon, that is what we call on. The rhythm of the sea, which is Olokun, we call on her. And so today, I give you charge, I give you power, I give you essence, I give you energy to take up the responsibility of doing these celebrations in your community so that our ancestors will come together, mobilize, and be the change. Celebrate our ancestors, but most of all, to help our children, help our community, help our men and women. And as women, we take the charge to empower our men, to celebrate our men, to support our men, to not bash our men and feel that we are not capable of trusting them or waiting on them. Know that we are at war. We are at war, and the only way that we are going to be able to survive the war of sustenance and of celebrating and persisting and be able to live for millions of years, for over 3,000 years, we have been on the face of this earth or more. And so the only way that we're going to survive is if, as people, as men and women, we come together and find the thing that keeps us together. The power of community is that each one of us is responsible for the other one, and not to fight and not to find a place of discord, but find the commonality. Men, women, come together in the name of African heritage, our ancestors. Do these celebrations in your community, and you will see the change. We spoke already of the change that happened in one particular situation. We always know that change happens when you pray, but change happens quickly and easier, from my understanding, when we celebrate and we invoke spirit. We invoke nature. We call nature to infuse us and to use us as a tool, as the Creator expected us to do. Today, I give thanks and homage to each and every one of you that are listening here, and I celebrate you, and I give thanks for you setting it up in your community, which I know you already have and you will continue to do. We give this thanks and this homage to the ancestors, and so we will sing Mojuba Fefeiku, 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 Mojuba Fefeiku. Iku o, yentila síjọba egongo. Iku o, yentila síjọba egongo. Arabara, arabara, arabara egongo, arabara, 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 arabara egongo, arabara, arabara babalao, arabara yalao, arabara egongo, arabara, 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 arabara egongo, arabara, arabara, arabao, arabara yalao, arabara egongo, arabara, arabara. again, we give thanks. And this is Where in the World is Yeyefini? Yeyefini is doing the ancestral celebration and invited members of our community to partake of it. Where in the World of Yeyefini is always available to share whatever it is that we're doing. Ashe. Have a wonderful, glorious ancestral celebration month of March. See you next month. Continue share this video so that others will see the power of ceremony, the power of heritage, the power of glory of our ancestors. Ashe.
Ashe.
And so we will all rise. Have a blessed day.